Noisy pump. Unfortunately, a lot of equipment nowadays, in order to keep the prices down, they fit cheap Chinese bearings, and really the bearing is the main important part in these, and they should really fit some decent bearings. Otherwise they just last a couple of years and they start squealing like a banshee. So I'm going to have to fix this, and I'm going to try and get hold of some really good bearings and fit them instead. So let's get on with this. The first thing you're going to do is isolate the motor, and I'm going to go and pull the breaker so there's no chance of us getting a shock, and then we'll unwire it, unplumb it, and see what we can see. Excellent. Okay, let's get this sucker apart. So I'm going to split the pump from the motor. Washer went down there somewhere, I'll find it in a minute. These DeWalt's impacts are fabulous. Use them all the time. The 20 volt ones, don't buy the 12 volt ones. Or if you're in the UK, the 18 volt ones, which are actually the same, they just rebadge the batteries differently. Must be something to do with legislation on voltage or reported voltage, because they are the same batteries, they just got 18 volts on them instead of 20. Rather strange. Keep dropping that. Probably going to end up with water all over the bench in a second. This has been a very good pump actually. It was very inexpensive. Bought it off Amazon, as most things. Oh, there you go, water everywhere. Okay, hold on, let me just put this on the floor. Okay, I guess that's off. Okay, that's the impeller cover. Oh yeah, hear that? Yeah, definitely bearing failure. Impeller looks good, so I've got to get that off of there. There's some crap jammed in it. Let me just change everything here because I'm all covered in water now. Okay, clean down a bit. So let's have a look at this. Take this end cover off. Oh, some of these screws are a little on the tight side. I should have really made sure it had less water in it than when I started, but there you go. The brown paper covering I had on the desk was from another project I was doing a little while ago, so didn't really need that. Okay. There's a little device on the end here. What is this? Oh, it's a voltage selector. Okay. Yeah, so this on the end here is just for if you want to use 110 instead of 240. Yes, it's just a switch. We don't need to worry about that. So I really want to get this off of here. We've got a bearing in this housing on the end here, a bearing on this housing. So I've got to get the impeller off, and I've got to get this housing off. So let's have a look at that. Tiny little chaps. Ooh, they are small. £6mm. I bet they're tight. Oh, I don't want to snap them off. There you go. These are going to go all the way through to the front. I like to think that impeller is going to screw off that way because the motor's spinning that way. Can you hear that? I wonder if it was squealing. So I've got to unscrew that impeller off of there like that. So the only way is to take these out. Get this end cover off. Actually get this earth line out. Let's do it the easy way. Heavily. Got a bit of water in here. Till these are outside. They are rated at outside motors, but they've not really sealed this end cover very well, considering it's going to be out in the elements. Okay. Let's see if I can just pry that off. It's all falling apart now. I'm hoping these are going to be a standard size bearing so I can get a good quality bearing in here, but you never know. Anyway, I need to get this end cover off the bearing. Some levers. There she goes. There she glows. I'll just lift that off of there. What we got? It's a 6203. Well, I've got those at work, so at the shop, so that's an easy one. Now, can I pull the stator off? I'm not quite sure why it's not just popping off of there, because that should just come straight. The stator should just come straight off of there. Don't know what's holding it. Okay, there should be nothing holding this on now. That should just come off. But I'm not quite sure why that's not coming out of there. Okay, let me have a little dig and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I need to unscrew the impeller, and there's a slot in the end here, so I'm going to put a screwdriver in here, and I'm going to, I'm assuming that unscrews. There you go. Okay, the impeller just unscrews off that rotor. So now that should come out of there. Oh, there you go. It's a circlip holding it. That's why it wasn't coming out. So we've got some seals here. May look at having to change these if I can get hold of them. We've got a carbon seal here. I have to see if there's a seal kit available for this motor. There's a rubber seal there. Golly, this is crap, isn't it? So that just runs. Look at it. Okay. A little bit more damage than I was expecting. So that now should push out of there, I think. Okay, get a mallet on that. Doesn't want to come out that way. This end plate comes off. Ah, there you go. Oh, so it all draws out that way. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there's a lot of corrosion in here. A lot of shite. So we're going to have to give this a really good clean. Seems like it's salt, but I don't have, it's not a salt pool. Strange. I wonder if this seal was leaking through here. There's an awful lot of corrosion in this area, and I'm wondering if the this end seal went and it allowed water to come through into the bearing. That's where I'm leading myself to believe. The impeller's got to come off of there. Yeah. I may have to put some heat on here, because I think it should have been able to come out the other end. I think it's the front bearing that's failed. Rear bearing doesn't sound so bad, so it's probably leaked in through those seals on the front and filled this front bearing with water. But now I've got to get that out of there without breaking this. Heat! Let's put some heat on it and see where we go with that. Now the aluminium will expand faster than the steel and give us an advantage.
Driveway.
An advantage. So top. See if that's done it. And there it is. Yeah, so the alley expanded and came off the steel. So now I've got to pull this bearing off of this rotor. But that's what's happened. This front seal has failed, which has killed this bearing. So if I can get a new seal, it's good. But this bearing surface on this shaft is pretty grim now. Maybe a dead pump. But okay, so I've cleaned up a lot of the parts and I've determined that the front end wasn't as damaged as I thought it was. So with some standard 6203 double rubber shielded bearings and seals, we can fix this. So first thing I'm going to do is just tap this bearing on. So bearings, if it's tight on the inner race when you're trying to fit it, you've got to only push on the inner race. If you just clobber it on, you're going to damage the bearing. So I'm going to just tap that on using this socket as like a tube to just push on the inner race. Now I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to push this one on, and I've got a nice bit of tubing here which is the right size. And I can just tap that on there. That's tight. I didn't think it was going to be that tight. There she goes. Okay. Now, with that amount of force, if I'd have been pushing on the outer race, what do you have? You have the inner race, and then the balls, and then the outer race. And if you hammer on the outer race, those balls dent into the two tracks, and the bearing's dead before you've even started. So that's now nicely fitted on there and there. Put a bit of grease on here. Just going to make sure that the rubber seal is covered in grease to stop any water from trying to sneak in. Let's grease all this. Now this is a grease called MS4. It's a silicone grease, so it's really good on seals and things like that. Now get the housing in. It's just got to drop down in there. And then tap it, and that's it. So the outer race isn't tight on this because that outer race has got a little spring washer in the bottom, so that bearing moves a little bit in the housing, and that keeps the tension to stop the rotor from floating backwards and forwards. Okay, so the next piece would be for this. Again, let's put a load of grease on this bearing. This is mainly just to try and get the water out of it, to be honest. Okay. And then got to find out where the holes are, line it up. Just cover off. There you go. These long screws all the way through there. Let's just tighten these up. Now push the carbon seal into the housing already. So now the other half of the seal, get some silicone grease on that and push that onto the impeller. Should be a little snug, which it is, nice and tight, there you go. And that has got a screw onto the shaft, like that. Now, get onto the end of the armature there with a screwdriver and I can just tighten that up. So that's tight. Now this piece has got a little square peg, and that square peg goes into the top here. Just like that there. I'll take this seal off. Just wet it with some silicone grease and then just get a little bit of grit on it. Let's get rid of that. So it's nicely wet with silicone grease, and just put that back in. All right. Careful, that seal can pop off. There you go. Just ease those two parts together like that. Pretty good. These pumps only seem to last a couple of years nowadays before they crater, but it's nice to be able to extend its life a little bit by just switching out a couple of bearings. Cover on. That should be it. So put some power on it. See what happens. See what it sounds like, I guess. Pretty quiet. Perfect. And there's that little plate in there that is rattling around. I don't understand why there's not something to captivate it, but there isn't. So I guess that's what it is. Great. So I did actually replace the pump. I bought a new one because I didn't think this one was resurrectable, but as it happens it's worked out pretty good. So I now have a spare pump and I could use this for my pool vacuum because my other one cratered. So I hope this has helped you see how they come apart, how easy they are to fix, and speak to you all soon. Cheers, bye.